My name is Raquel Diaz Rosado,
Relationship to me.
your grandmother.
When and where were you born?
I was born in the town of Utuado, Puerto Rico, in 1947.
Was your first language Spanish?
Yes.
Who did you live with in Puerto Rico?
I lived with my parents, my siblings, two brothers, and two sisters. It was very enjoyable. It was where I had the early part of my childhood. So most of the time we were just outdoors playing. We lived in the country. We had animals. We had large properties, so we had plenty of space to run around and play with each other. And myself, there was five of us. I was the second youngest of the five. I was 11 years old when my parents decided to move to the United States. We flew in to New York. Then we went to New Jersey with our uncle who lived in a town called Amboy, New Jersey. He wanted my father to come to the United States to be near him. And he had promised my father the house for us there. So we came prepared to move into a house, except that when we got there, it was a shack that was situated in a migrant farm where the migrant workers used to live at one time. And my mother was horrified and decided that we were not staying there. So we ended up staying with our uncle for a couple of weeks. And then we moved to Brooklyn, New York with my father's sister.
Did you eventually branch out to other parts of New York?
Different parts of Brooklyn, just two. We really didn't move around much. We moved to Coney Island, where at the time it wasn't, there weren't that many Hispanic people living there. Few. We rented a house, and we were all able at least to be together. So we didn't, we were okay. I didn't like New York initially. I didn't like the weather. I didn't like, it just was such a stark difference from living in Puerto Rico that it was very difficult to adjust.
How was your experience with education?
Not speaking the language was very, very difficult. But we persisted and, eventually did okay. We got good grades in school, learned the language real quick.
Growing up in New York, did you experience any type of discrimination?
Every day in school, from the teachers, from other children, from neighbors. It was really, really tough for all of us, for all the children, actually. When I came here, I was in the 6th grade, but because I went to school where I didn't speak the language, it was very difficult for me, and there was any type of a program to assimilate us. So you just had to learn the language and deal with them placing you in classes that were for slow learners, more so than not taking into account that you were not stupid, I guess is what they assumed you were. After a year or so, I became pretty proficient in the language. And then I obtained better grades. Then the following grades, I was moved into the smarter classes, as they referred to it then. Because then it was like you went from like class 9-1 to 917. From there, I went to high school. I went to Sarah J. Hale Vocational High School in Brooklyn, where I took health careers because I wanted to be a nurse. That was my goal. Finished high school, applied for nursing school, was denied. They said I didn't meet their requirements, though I was carrying a 94 average in high school. And so I wouldn't accept their findings. So I personally went to the school and I asked them to please show me what requirement they had that I didn't meet. I had all the requirements, I had all the credits, and they told me they couldn't, that they would just review my application and they would get in touch with me. A few days later, they contacted me and said that they had reviewed my application and had accepted me as a student. So, which proved to me that they were just basically going by what my last name was at the time. There was one girl, me, a Hispanic, and a black girl in the entire class of nursing students that were accepted to that school. We were both given the same room to share, a double room. White girls each had a private room. But I didn't settle for that either. I fought for that, and I called them out on it. Miraculously, 2 single rooms became available, and we were moved into those rooms. Through the course, they made my life miserable. The professors always gave me the hardest patients, gave me the sicker patients, and ended up graduating with the second highest average in the nursing class. If I had a choice at the time, we wanted to go back to Puerto Rico. My mother wanted to go back, but it just wasn't, we didn't have a place to go to because we had, gotten rid of our apartment that we had there. We just had to make the best of it.